Welcome, aspiring entrepreneurs. Are you ready to turn your dreams into reality? Today, we're diving into the exhilarating world of starting your very first business in just 48 hours. Buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey filled with passion, determination, and success. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let me ask you this. How many times have you caught yourself daydreaming about being your own boss, about creating something extraordinary that leaves a lasting impact? Today, that dream becomes your reality. Now, imagine this. You wake up in 48 hours and instead of hitting snooze on your alarm, you're waking up to a life where you call the shots, where every decision you make propels you closer to your goals. Sound too good to be true? It's not. It's the power of entrepreneurship, and it's within your reach. So let's break it down into 3 key parts. Start it, build it, and grow it. These are the pillars of your journey to success. By the end of this video, you'll not only have the roadmap, but also the motivation to kickstart your entrepreneurial journey like never before. Are you ready to make it happen? Let's dive in. If you're watching this and you haven't yet started your business, I suspect, for a lot of people, I know you might have been thinking about starting a business for several years. You have just not yet taken action. And there is this pervasive myth that happens amongst everyone who is an aspiring entrepreneur, which is, I need the right idea. I cannot get started until I have the right idea. But the thing is, you don't start a business by first having the right idea and then starting the business. You start a business by deciding to start a business, and then you find a process to come up with the right idea. Just start it. Begin before you are ready. No one feels ready to start a business, just like I've heard no one really feels ready to have kids. The timing is never quite right. So the timing to start a business is never quite right. You have to just start. You have to begin before you're ready. And just to label this point just a little bit more, there's a nice quote here. Most people overthink first and act later. Every successful entrepreneur acts first and figures it out later. Any analysis ahead of action is purely speculation. You really do not understand something until you've done it. Rather than trying to plan your way into the confidence to act, just start acting. When faced with a new idea or task, our initial response is often to dwell on the how, the logistics, the steps, the challenges. This fixation on how can become a barrier, preventing us from taking action. Instead, focus on the now, taking immediate, decisive steps towards your goal without getting bogged down in the details of how to accomplish it. Instead, think, what is the smallest action I can take right now? Even if you don't know what to do about anything, there's probably a small action that you can figure out that you can just take action on. And then once you've taken action on that, you can then get started with the thing. The majority of the entrepreneurs face similar challenges. It's not always about the technical aspects of launching a business. Rather, it's often the emotional hurdles that prove most daunting. Whether it's self-doubt, fear of failure, or uncertainty about the future, these emotional barriers can be significant obstacles on the path to entrepreneurship. Remember, it's not about having the perfect idea. It's about taking that first step. Are you ready to join us on this adventure? Let's dive in. Ever wondered what's next in the journey of building a business? Well, it all boils down to putting the customer first. Picture this. You're not out to discover a business idea. Instead, you kick off by identifying the people you want to serve. At its core, a business exists to solve a problem for someone willing to pay for the solution. The age-old hurdle for entrepreneurs is diving into building something without ensuring there's a willing customer base. This struggle is common among students too. They often generate fantastic business ideas but miss the crucial step of confirming if there are people willing to pay for those ideas. The key lesson here, when brainstorming business ideas, prioritize customers before the product, even before their idea itself. To start a business, you need someone to sell to. It's a mistake countless entrepreneurs make when they excitedly share their business ideas without considering the customer perspective. Think about it. How many times have you encountered someone asking, "What do you think of this business idea?" When launching a business, it's crucial to identify your target audience, preferably starting with those you already know. For example, if you're a medical student, your potential customers could include your classmates, their parents, patients at hospitals, or even local businesses you engage with regularly. This approach provides a strong foundation for understanding your market and tailoring your business to meet their needs. Another crucial aspect is targeting customers with money. It's easier to build a business catering to those who can afford your products or services. This is where students face a challenge, typically surrounded by peers with limited funds. The solution: identify alternate sources of money, like their parents or the university's budget. Now, having brainstormed potential customers with financial capacity, the next step is identifying their problems. The simplest way: just ask them. Find out what annoys them, what they're already paying for, and where they feel dissatisfied. This approach generates an endless list of problems, a goldmine for budding businesses. Remember, progress happens when people discover a problem and work to find a solution. Take Uber, for example. It emerged from someone frustrated with traditional cab-hailing methods. The key lesson here is the customer-first approach, a stark contrast to the founder-first approach. Consider this analogy with a dog walking app idea. Founder first. Devote hours to brainstorming and naming the app. Spend $100 on a cool logo. Set up an LLC. Dive into YouTube tutorials. Contemplate a developer bootcamp. Buy a domain name. Explore expensive Upwork developers. Give up. Now, the customer-first approach. Contact 3 dog owners and propose paid dog walks. Discover they don't need walks but struggle with finding dog sitters. Ask them when they plan to travel and make sure they pay a deposit. Congratulations, you've found what you were looking for. Here's the main idea. Focusing only on what the founder wants might not work well. It's better to start by talking to potential customers to make sure there's a demand for what you're offering. Get those first few customers interested and paying before you spend a lot of time and money building something. Once you've got them on board, you'll know your business idea is worth pursuing. So let's dive deeper into the process of validating business ideas and the importance of a customer-first approach. Imagine you're at a party and a friend, let's call him Boris, sends out an email. Boris, like many of us, is swamped with work and has no time to cook. He decides to test a business idea with his close friends by offering them convenient home-cooked meals for $20 each. In his email, he asks his friends to PayPal him $20 if they're interested. Boris is smart. He's not just asking for feedback. He's asking for their commitment in the form of money. This is a critical step in validating a business idea. Now, let's dissect Boris's approach. He's not just floating an idea out there. He's asking for payment up front. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's easy for someone to say, that sounds interesting, but it's a whole different ballgame when they have to part with their hard-earned cash. Asking for money up front is the ultimate test of whether your idea has real traction. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new business idea, but until someone is willing to pay for it, it's just a pipe dream. This concept applies to all types of business ideas, not just Boris's meal delivery service. Whether you're launching a tech startup, a consulting business, or a retail store, the principle remains the same. Validate your idea by getting people to pay for it upfront. This not only confirms that there's demand for your product or service, but also provides you with the initial capital you need to get started. Now, let's shift gears and talk about how to generate business ideas. One approach is to look inward and identify your own pain points. What frustrates you on a daily basis? What tasks do you dread doing? What products or services do you wish existed but can't find? These are all potential business opportunities waiting to be explored. We suggest 4 prompts to help kickstart your idea generation process. What irritated you this morning? What's been on your to-do list for over a week? What do you regularly fail to do well? What did you want to buy recently but couldn't find? These prompts are designed to help you identify problems in your own life that could be solved through entrepreneurship. Remember, every problem you encounter is an opportunity to create a solution that others may be willing to pay for. But it's not enough to just identify a problem. You also need to validate that there's demand for your solution. This is where Boris's approach comes in handy. Instead of just asking for feedback, he's asking for payment. This is a critical step in the validation process because it forces people to put their money where their mouth is. If they're willing to pay for your solution, then you know you're onto something. If not, then it's back to the drawing board. Now let's talk about the customer-first approach to building a business. Instead of starting with an idea and then trying to find customers for it, start by identifying your target market and their needs. Who are the people you want to serve? And what problems do they have? This is the foundation of a successful business. Boris did this intuitively when he reached out to his friends with his meal delivery service idea. He knew that he was targeting busy professionals who didn't have time to cook. By addressing their pain point directly, he was able to generate interest and, more importantly, sales. But identifying your target market is just the first step. You also need to validate that there's demand for your solution within that market. This is where Boris's approach really shines. Instead of just assuming that his friends would be interested in his meal delivery service, he asked them to pay for it up front. This not only confirmed that there was demand for his service, but also provided him with the initial capital he needed to get started. Now, let's talk about how to apply this customer-first approach to other business ideas. Imagine you have an idea for a new app that helps people track their fitness goals. Instead of spending months developing the app in isolation, start by talking to potential users. Find out what features they would find most valuable and how much they would be willing to pay for it. Then, instead of launching the app to the general public, start by offering it to a small group of beta testers. This not only allows you to get feedback on the product, but also generates buzz and excitement around the launch. The key takeaway here is that starting a business is not about having the perfect idea. It's about identifying a problem and finding a solution that people are willing to pay for. This requires a customer-first approach, where you focus on understanding your target market and their needs before developing your product or service. By validating your idea up front and getting customers to pay for it before you even launch, you can significantly increase your chances of success. In conclusion, the customer-first approach is a fundamental principle of entrepreneurship that can make or break your business. By focusing on understanding your target market and their needs and validating your idea up front, you can significantly increase your chances of success. So, the next time you have a business idea, don't just rush to develop it. Take the time to understand your customers and validate your idea before you launch. If you want to get ahead this year, don't miss our next video where we'll share 7 practical ways to make money, investing from $0 to $1,000.